Okay, so first, for the lab, we're going to be measuring out the mass of our beaker. So I'm going to put the 100 milliliter beaker onto our balance, and this is the mass. So make sure you record this in your lab. So you should be seeing 59.10 grams. Okay, so now we're going to measure out 8 grams of copper 2 sulfate into this beaker. So I have copper 2 sulfate, this right here, and then we're going to measure out the grams. So it should be getting to about 67.10. It's a little bit too much. Okay, so there's the final mass. It's about 67.02 grams. So please record that. Okay, so now we have our copper 2 sulfate. There's 8 grams in this beaker, and we're going to add 50 milliliters of distilled water to this beaker. Now we're going to put 50 milliliters of distilled water and our 8 grams of copper 2 sulfate onto this hot plate to help dissolve this. So I have this on a setting of like a medium low setting, and I'm going to stir this to help this dissolve. So what you should notice is that this is completely into solution now. It's completely clear. Okay, so now we're going to add the iron. So let's measure out the iron. Okay, so now we're going to weigh out our iron filings into, we're going to weigh out 2.24 grams of iron filings. So I'm going to first zero the balance with our weighing boat on it. And now I'm going to measure out 2.24 grams of the iron. So here's my iron. Okay, so record that mass in your data table. I just want to point out that in your data table, to figure out the mass of copper 2 sulfate, you're going to subtract the mass of the empty beaker from the mass of the beaker in copper 2 sulfate to calculate the mass of copper 2 sulfate. Okay, so now we're going to add the iron filings to our solution of copper 2 sulfate and observe what occurs. So we're going to add these slowly. So watch carefully, and I'm going to be stirring this as I add it. And I just realized that this should be hot, so let's put this on the hot plate to make this a little bit more hot. So again, I'm going to put this on a heat setting of medium low, and we'll continue adding our our iron to our copper 2 sulfate solution. Okay, so now we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and make our observations. Now, as it's sitting, what you might want to notice is that in the bottom of the beaker, and I'm going to bring this a little bit close to the screen, what you're going to see is that there's a little bit, it looks like copper on the bottom of the beaker. And again, I'm going to bring this up close, so hopefully you could see it. You should see there's some more copper on the bottom of this beaker. So remember, this is a single replacement reaction, and what we see are the products starting to form. So now this reaction has been going on for about 10 minutes. So let's look at this. What you should see is in the bottom of the beaker, there's copper. And you can see a reddish material in the bottom of the beaker, and floating on the top is a little bit of copper from the reaction. Okay, so now we're going to do some decanting. Okay, so now we're going to decant our solution. So to decant this, what we're going to do is we're going to just pour our liquid into the second beaker and leave our solid behind in our 100 milliliter beaker. So I'm going to carefully pour this down a stir rod just to control this a little bit better. And hopefully just leave the solid behind. Okay, so as you see, we recovered the copper. However, there's still a little bit of the the iron sulfate solution surrounding it. So now we're going to have to wash our solid to remove any of that other product. And if you notice, a few of the pieces of copper did go into this beaker here when I decanted it. So we did lose a little bit of our product in here. So now we're going to add 10 milliliters of water to our copper to wash it. Okay, so we're supposed to swirl this, kind of wash our product to make sure it's clean. And then we're going to decant off the liquid once again. So now we're going to wash it again with another 10 milliliters of water. Swirled again. And then we're going to again decant off the liquid. Okay, so we're going to let this dry in the hood so that we can then weigh this next class to see how much of the copper we recovered.